To the breaking news story this hour, just after 3 o'clock, just 50 minutes ago, the ANC confirming that it has taken a decision to expel the former Secretary-General, Ace Magashule. Mahlengi Bhengu-Motsiri is the national spokesperson of the African National Congress. Mahlengi, good afternoon to you, and I appreciate the time you've taken to speak to us about this breaking news. This decision is made by the National Disciplinary Committee of the ANC. Why has it decided to expel Ace Magashule?
The decision according to the records of the National Disciplinary Committee, which is an independent organ within the ANC, the decision to expel Ace Magashule stems out of his violation, the contravention of the ANC Constitution's Rule 25.17.12 and other related rules in the Constitution. And sometime in 2021, so this has been going back to 2021, where Ace Magashule wrote a letter to the president of the ANC in which he unilaterally suspended the president, purporting to have necessary authority to do so without consulting and obtaining necessary authority to do so from national officials as well as the National Executive Committee as required by the ANC's constitution. So it's a case that has really been going way back there. Sometime in the last week of May, Ace Magashule was then presented with an opportunity to make representations as to why he should not be expelled from the ANC. Remember, during that time, he was suspended and was given 7 calendar days in which to make representations. Upon the lapse of that deadline, the NDC convened and came to its own conclusion. All that we did today is to communicate the official decision of the National Disciplinary Committee.
So, because he did not respond to the National Disciplinary Committee, does that mean that he no longer has a right of appeal? You do have a structure, if I remember correctly, it's called the National Disciplinary Committee of Appeal. Can he still go there, or is this the end of it?
I will not be in a position, because I do not want to purport to speak on behalf of the NDC, which is an independent body. In fact, when we do communicate about disciplinary cases, we only do so by way of an injunction from the relevant committee. And in this case, they have directed that the Office of the Secretary General should communicate that decision in public in accordance with one of the provisions of the Constitution of the ANC.
Okay, so who decides if he can appeal? Is it the National Disciplinary Committee or the National Disciplinary Committee of Appeal that gets to decide that?
It will be the interface between the two committees as they work together. But as far as I understand the Constitution, that will then be something that gets handled by the National Disciplinary Committee of Appeals.
Okay. And in the end, if I remember correctly, again from previous cases, some of them being quite famous, the National Executive Committee can also play a role. There's also a way to appeal there if you want. And
through these structures, essentially, because again, the National Executive Committee cannot find itself in a situation where it has made intervention in a way that may have the effect of undermining the relative independence of these constitutional organs. But that is all that I'm willing to say at this point about this particular aspect of your question, Stephen.
Mahlengi, we're all aware of the power of the Secretary-General's office within the ANC. In fact, the current Secretary-General is sort of the person you report to, in a way. As far as you know, in the long history of the ANC, is this the first time a former Secretary-General has actually been expelled?
I am trying to recall, and I don't want to be remiss of history. I am yet to recall of a case of that nature, certainly taking into account my relative age in the ANC, meaning those that came before us may have a story to tell about it. But certainly in recent times, this would be something fresh.
I have to say, I can't remember it either. You face a tough election in next year. You face a tough election in the Free State next year too. Are you worried that this may damage the ANC there? Ace Magashule may start perhaps another political party. He, of course, had a strong power base in the ANC in the Free State for many, many, many years. Does that concern you at all?
Well, we have seen a lot of people that have been taken held to account in the recent years for violating this or that rule of the ANC, because we are a rules-based governing party. And we've seen people setting up parties and all of those happening. But I think from the perspective of the unity and cohesion of the African National Congress, we are remaining very strong. There's a lot of unity that is unfolding coming out of the 55th National Conference. Yes, there will be moments where this unity is threatened, such as when a member is dismissed or suspended or expelled in this case. But the ANC is a big organization. It's much larger than individuals. And we don't believe that it really has the potential of having a fundamental or causing a fundamental fissure in the unity of the ANC.
For many years, there have been questions around whether the ANC is able to act against people who do not follow the ANC's rules. Now, this is not a sort of state capture case in any way. It's a kind of an open-shut case, a slightly simple case, legally speaking, because there were documents from Ace Magashule where he purported to have the power to suspend President Cyril Ramaphosa as leader of the ANC. But do you think this sends a signal to other ANC members that they need to stick to the rules?
Well, I think it is a signal to all members of the African National Congress to be diligent and accountable to the constitution of the ANC, which gets reviewed on an ongoing basis. It is also a signal about the commitment of the African National Congress to its renewal and to its self-cleansing. So it's a challenge to all of us, including myself and everybody else, including members of the National Executive Committee, about the need to put the ANC first before we look at ourselves. And so I think it really bodes decisions of this nature were directed by this conference that said that the ANC needs to act where there are proven cases of ill discipline. And when that gets done, we do expect that not everybody would be happy with the decision, but if the ANC is being true to it and is being transparent and consistent in the way it disciplines, and I think consistency being the operative word, where it is done without fear or favor, I'm certain that, our membership and our support base on the ground would see that the organization is serious about dealing with challenges where there are instances of ill discipline.
Mahlengi Bhengu-Motsiri, thank you, National Spokesperson of the African National Congress, on the breaking news this hour.